Welcome back. In the last video, we got a pizza steak sushi 20% dataset from the course GitHub, ready for our Food Vision Mini PyTorch model experiment building. So let's cover that while we're here. Food Vision Mini model deployment experiment outline. And as I said, just because we're at milestone project 3, we're a fair way through the course, we're never going to stop experimenting. If anything you take away from this course, it's experiment, experiment, experiment. So what's our 3 questions? So 3 questions for machine learning model deployment. We have 1, which is, I'm going to make this a heading here actually, 3 questions. We have number 1, which is, what is my most ideal machine learning model deployment scenario? So what's the most ideal setting for Food Vision Mini? 2, where is my model going to go? And of course, you won't necessarily know all of the answers to these questions ahead of time. They're just sort of guidelines. And then how is my model going to function? So when we think about it, what is our most ideal use case for Food Vision Mini? So let's write this down. Food Vision Mini ideal use case. What would it be? Well, a model that performs well and fast. Let's make that a little bit more concrete. So well and fast is, how about performs well is, we want it to be at least 95% plus accuracy. If we're only working with 3 different classes, we don't want it performing at 50% accuracy because that's almost a coin toss. We want it performing pretty darn good. So that's our ideal model. Has an accuracy score of 95+%. And of course, performs well will differ depending on whatever problem you're working on. If it was fraud transaction detection, you would probably want a model that's 99.999% accurate or something like that. And then we also want fast. So as close to real time or faster. And what I mean by real time is, let's just find out how fast the human eye can see. So how fast can the human eye see? Between 30 and 60 frames per second. How about we start with the lower end of that? And now, why would I do this? Why would I want that to be my benchmark? Of course, the fastest it could be would be the speed of light. So basically we have 0 millisecond delay, but 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second at the higher end is a good benchmark for real time, because that means that if someone is using our Food Vision Mini app, if it's functioning at 30 frames per second, as in it's making predictions on images at 30 frames per second, the human eye could not distinguish whether it was instant. So let's go here, as close to real time as possible, which is 30 FPS plus, which is, if we divide 30 frames per second, we need to divide 1 by 30, which is prediction time of 0.33 seconds. So that's 30 milliseconds. So, or 30 millisecond latency. So I'm just going to write a little note here. Latency equals time for prediction to take place. So these are our goals. I'm just going to put these 1 and 2. We have a Food Vision Mini model in the ideal use case is a model that performs well and fast. These are really general. But then we get specific. We want it to perform well, 95% plus accuracy, and fast. As close to real time or faster as possible. 30 FPS, because that's how fast the human eye can see. Of course, there's some debate about that, but we're just going to take the lower end. We're going to keep it simple. And latency is the time for the prediction to take place. So they're our goals. That's what we're working towards. So if we jump into the keynote, Food Vision Mini deployment goals. Here's something I've cooked up earlier, like all good machine learning cooking shows. We want our deployed app, Food Vision Mini. Oh, that was cool to watch. I want to watch that again. A deployed model, Food Vision Mini, to have a performance of 95+% accuracy, so it's good, and it's fast. It's got a 30+ FPS, real time. Now, what experiments are we going to run to try and develop a model that is capable of doing that? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to set our goals. We want a good performance, and a fast model. So our best two performing models so far have been EfficientNet B2 feature extractor and a VIT feature extractor. So for our machine learning model deployment for Food Vision Mini experiment, we're going to train two of these models, one EfficientNet B2 feature extractor and one VIT feature extractor, vision transformer, on the same data set, and then we're going to get their metrics and compare them, and then we're going to deploy the model that is closest to our target metrics. And in fact, we'd probably favor speed because we don't want an app that is slow. A slow app is boring. So if we get a model that performs at like say 90% accuracy, but it has an FPS of 25 versus one that performs at 98% accuracy, but only can do FPS of 2, well then maybe we'd favor the prior model. So with that being said, let's jump back into it. We'll go here. We'll just finalize our experiment outline. To try and achieve these goals, we're going to build two model experiments. We've discussed these. One is EfNet B2 feature extractor. Just like in 07 PyTorch experiment tracking. That was our best performing model in that section. And then we want a VIT feature extractor. So just like in 08 PyTorch paper replicating. Now, of course, we have a myriad of options here. We don't necessarily have to just build these models. We could build an infinite amount, but that could get to the point where we're trying too many things before we actually deploy a model. So deployment is as important as training. So we want to get something deployed as quickly as possible. So we're going to limit our experiments to just a couple of things, get something working, and then if you want to experiment further, that is definitely an option. So we've got our outline, we've got our goals that we're going to be working towards, performs well and fast, and we have two modeling experiments that we're going to be doing, and the winner, or the model that achieves closest to these goals, we're going to deploy as an app. Ooh, this is exciting. So with that being said, let's in the next video start to build an EfNet B2 feature extractor. And hey, you might want to try this yourself. In fact, we've already done that in section 7, and we've already got a data set ready. So if you want to try it out, there's a section here if you want to use it as a guide. Give it a go. Otherwise, we're going to work towards doing it together over the next few videos. I'll see you there.